What's up, Flexies? My name is Chris Erryx, and this is the first time that you are tuning in to Flex the Truth podcast, aka Baby Trump. I told you I'm going to have all-star after all-star Patriot every single day. This guy, literally, when I mean a God-given gift, I mean a God-given gift, and we'll get to that in a minute. But Billy, you're gonna play the guitar because I was gonna put a song on.
Yeah, you could do that. I could still play if you like, whatever you
Yeah.
like.
Okay. So this guy is, he's a party within himself. So I call him a one-man band, right? So I want you to hear this song because if you never heard it, I guarantee you, after you watch this podcast, you're gonna fall in love. You are gonna play this song to the heavens. I just want to give you a smidge of Billy Falcon.
Alive and well, I'm wide awake. Won't take your brand, I'm not your slave. You serve your God, Lord of the flies. I pity you and you mean mine. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes. Your bloody mouth unsatisfied. God sees the trap you set for me. He'll not be mocked, I will be free. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender.
Oh man, I got goosebumps. They're down my leg. The favorite lyric of that song is the one about what God had made. I mean, this song, when you listen to it, people, I'm telling you, it's going to be your favorite song. You're going to have your children listening. You're going to have it on your iPods, your MP3s. It is a gut cleansing song. This song, Billy, hits me, and I might even get a little worked up. Ave Maria. Okay. Wow. They played that at my mom's funeral. And so when I hear that song, Ave Maria, it really hits home with me.
Sure.
When I hear this song, Never Surrender, this song, no matter how many times I've heard it, Billy, and I mean, and my flexies know how I am about music, right? I watched that video. You gotta watch that video with it too, with Jesus Christ nailed on the cross. And I mean, but that one lyric that you have in there, I mean, it just does things to me, my spirit, that I can't even tell you. So for that alone, I just thank you. But I want to introduce you. He literally fell on my lap. As you guys well know, I was supposed to do an event in Oregon, and then I squashed that. And then I moved it to Texas because that's where God wanted to have it, right? And I was supposed to have David Bray. And at that time, I was talking to Billy Falcon. And I was thinking, oh, I'll have David Bray and I'll have Billy Falcon. And I was like, this is great. They might even do a duet together. God only knows Christian patriots up there doing God's work, his will, his way, using his words, what could happen, right? Well, the only person that I lost, Billy, from the event in July to August was Dave Bray. Oh. I didn't lose one other speaker.
Wow.
And it was this God working, our good friend, our Christian brother, my really good friend, Mark Sherwood, was like, Chris, you got to talk to this guy. And then I started digging. And then I found out you were the writer from Bon Jovi. And then I told you the story with Stony Pony, right?
Stone Pony, sure, Stone
right?
Pony.
And saw Bon Jovi there. And this is before he was, famous.
Sure.
And the Jersey Shore, and he had both ears pierced. I told you this story. And I was like, oh my gosh. I ran out the next day and got my ear pierced because nobody else had it other than Bon Jovi. And so it's my honor. It's my pleasure. I'm so humble. Every time I get on the phone with this man, I never want to hang up. But this is the one, the only Billy Falcon. How are you, Billy?
I'm great. Thank you for all that, Chris. Yeah, I'm flattered and honored to be here. Thank you so much.
I watched your Never Surrender last night. I love the golf ball story.
Oh, you watched the show? Yeah, it was
You know,
sweet Jody, who has a show called Warriors Rise, and she's been so helpful to me. She sent me golf balls for my birthday with my face on it, and it's like the last thing you want to do is lose a ball with your face on, especially everybody on those golf courses knows me. In fact, so guys will say, "Have we played before?" And I'll go, "Well, to say you played with me before is almost like saying, what was the girl that was accusing Trump? Was saying like you slept with Stormy Daniels."
Stormy Daniels.
Because I get around when it comes to playing golf. I play a lot.
I play a lot.
All these strangers coming up to me, we played before. I'm going, you know, it's not really a big deal that you played with me. It's kind of like sleeping with Stormy Daniels. But,
I love it. But what a
boy.
great, I love that, you know, you're a great storyteller, number one. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that, but most, if not all songwriters are great storytellers because that's what you're literally doing is you're telling.
Yeah, well, hopefully, a lot of the new ones are just sitting in front of a computer, and the only thing they're not doing is, I guess, they write the words. But yeah, and country music used to be great. I'm not a country musician, but country music, there are still people like my son-in-law still making great country records. But it used to be stories, you know. It used to be stories, Americana, and it was wonderful. I mean, because you could sing about God, you could sing about the country, you could sing. And I don't know that there's a lot of that going on in any music anymore, aside from Christian music, which is also turned into a very homogenized.
Very infiltrated, very
Yeah.
infiltrated.
Yeah, like everything else, like the church itself, you know, and that's why the true believers, I think, are on the fringe, you know, praising God and walking as ambassadors for Jesus Christ. That's our job. That's a good job. And you don't get a day off. You're always an ambassador, no matter what kind of mood you're in, no matter where you are, you're an ambassador for Jesus Christ. And that's an honor and a privilege that none of us deserve, and by grace we have inherited it. You know,
Grace and mercy. You're right.
Yeah,
And you know, I didn't
absolutely.
tell you this, but I'm going to let a little nugget out of the bag. So my father was a professional drummer. He played with
Oh
Johnny
wow!
Cash.
Oh wow!
He played with Johnny Paycheck. Eddie Rabbit opened up for
Wow!
Minnie Pearl
What was his
in
name?
Nashville. Freddie Boom Boom Cole.
Wow!
Yep.
I
Yeah.
wonder.
And
I have friends
met
that
them
played with
all.
Johnny. Wow!
And
Wow!
I met Johnny Cash at the
Wow!
Turtleback Zoo in New York.
That's funny.
Because Johnny
Interesting.
Cash wasn't famous then. You know what I
Wow!
mean?
Wow!
When my dad played, he was not, you know, the star he is. He was playing at Turtleback Zoo. I have a
That's funny.
picture of
Wow!
me. I think it was the New York Times or Jersey Journal or something with me with platinum white hair and three little black kids watching my dad
Oh, that's
and Johnny
hilarious.
Cash at the Turtleback
Wow!
Zoo watching Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash. He was great.
Yeah.
He was
And so
great.
when you talk about Americana, you talk about country music, right away, people think Johnny Cash.
Yeah,
Right.
well, that's where it kind of, you know, it started before that, but yeah, that was the part of the evolution of it. Hank Williams,
Right.
and even further back. But yeah, some of those guys were amazing. I mean, Nashville is a great town, but back then, boy, it was a fun town. It must have been amazing to be here. I know some of the songwriters, the older songwriters I've spoken to that and heard their storytelling, and they would talk about, you know, just hanging out in a bar. There's a little bar down there called Bobby's Idle Hour, which is this little hole in the wall on Music Row. And they'd hang out there till all hours of the night, songwriters. And there was
Right.
only a handful of them here. And they'd get a call. Johnny's in the studio. Whelan's in the studio. They need a song. So these guys would sit around a table, write a song, bring it to the studio to get cut, be on the radio in 3 weeks. These days, there's thousands of songs.
Yes.
I don't know, or more. It's just nutty.
Right. And people
It's
are in the
changed.
bathtub in the shower making a song, right?
Well, it's changed so much here. It's still fun. It's still a fun thing. I don't involve too much down there. My daughter and her husband is still in the thick of it down there.
So tell us your testimonial and how you gave your life to Christ.
Well, let's see what happened. I made records. Started making records. I think I was 19 years old. So Before that, I was a young man, as a young boy, 12, 11, 8, 9. I wanted to be, I was probably 8 years old. I'm not going to tell you my whole life story. 8 years old, I wanted to be a baseball player. You couldn't, my mom and dad got me a Yankee uniform, and my mom would have to like chase me around the house to get it off me to wash it. It was like this nasty, because I would never want it. I slept in it. I woke up in it. I stood around all day in it. I threw a ball against the wall in it when my brothers were at school, waiting to play ball. That's all I wanted to do. There's a baseball field behind my house. And then somewhere along the line, I saw the Beatles in my living room on TV while I was doing my homework. And when I saw the girls screaming and these guys with the long hair singing, I'm going, nah, this is a better idea. And,
you wanted the girls.
Girls don't scream for baseball players that I knew of anyway. So I said, I like this. And I was just, 9 years old, 8 years old. And from that point on, I became like obsessed with getting a guitar, learning to play it. And I did everything myself. I never learned properly how to play it. And I still don't. My beautiful dad bought me a guitar after he saw me making guitars out of cereal boxes and Tide boxes. He put me out of my misery, got me a real guitar. And that's what I did. And by the time I was, I guess, 19, I had a record contract. I started writing songs immediately. So I was 8 years old, 9 years old. I probably wrote my first song because I didn't want to take the time to learn anybody else's song. I just wanted to do it. And I wrote my first song. I think it was called Nobody Likes You. So you could imagine that's where it started.
Sure, and, right. Yeah.
And so by the time I was 19, I had a record deal and made my first. It took forever to get a record, in my mind, forever to get a record deal. Poor me, I was 19, had my first major record deal. And everybody was making a fuss over the songs. And I got signed to a company, and I don't think they ever had an intention of selling my record. It became like a tax shelter thing, and they sold share. Well, long story. It became a tax thing, but somehow the record got to radio and actually blew up. And so I kept making these. So because they never intended it to be successful. Then there was an oil shortage, right at the height when my single was like going to blow up, and it would have been my first record. And I would have said, I'm a rock star. I'm 19 years old and I'm a rock star, because the song was everywhere. People thought I was Bruce Springsteen, which was weird because there were similarities there. And they thought when they heard my record, it was a new Springsteen record. So either they hated me or they loved me when they found out it wasn't him. And then a gas shortage, the oil crisis hits.
1978-ish, right?
Yes, and they couldn't make vinyl records. And and the only records they continued to make in the industry were like number 1 and number 2. My record was just starting to blow up. So it disappeared. You could not find it anywhere. And if something's not available in the store, we didn't have the internet then, obviously.
Right.
The radio stops because you're just frustrating a market. So the radio is going to play only what the kids can buy. And if the kids can't buy it, the radio ain't going to play it because it's just a frustrating thing. So that was the story of my first record. And then the second record had a similar story. And the third record had a similar story. And at the end of the third record, I blew out something in my throat, screaming, singing. And I was scared to death. And I went to this famous doctor they sent me to because they had a lot of money invested in me. And there was a polyp on my vocal cord. And there was this doctor who had this new operation. And it was scary as hell because if he screwed it up, there goes my everything.
You'll never be able to sing again, right?
Yeah. And talking would be an issue. So he did it, and it was, but I couldn't sing. I just had a new record done. I couldn't sing for 3 months. Couldn't talk for like 6 weeks. They said, you can't talk and you can't sing for 3 months. That killed the release of the third record. And at that point, I became privy to a bunch of things that they were doing with my record, kind of the belly of the beast kind of stuff, where they were somehow profiting from me failing, from my records not selling. They were selling tax shelter is what they were selling. There was something on the books that allowed a record, any investment in an artistic endeavor over or up to $50,000.
And if it fails, they get paid on it, like insurance.
They could write it off 8 times. So for 8 years. And so they were selling that, and what they had to make sure of was that I did not make that I didn't turn into a profit. And girls that loved me at the record company as an artist told me, Billy, you got to get out of here. They never intend for you to sell records. So I thought, well, I'll get out of here. I'll get another deal. But then that thing happened in my throat, and I did get out of my deal because I realized I was in a really evil situation.
Right.
And I wasn't. Again, I don't. I had opportunities here and there to, I think, take that step into crossing the line spiritually, if you know what I'm saying. Compromise to the point. And I think that's where the deal is done. You compromise yourself and your ethics and your care for people. You make your dream more important than maybe someone's life, kind of. I think that there's a step too far, and I think maybe that's where someone gets born of the darkness. I'm not sure of all that, but I know you can be born of the other seed. I was already Christian. That wasn't going to happen. However, I wasn't practicing anything. I was brought up Roman Catholic, kind of walked away from that pretty young. But in this time when I couldn't communicate, I couldn't sing, I remember I lost my deal, so we lost the houses we were living in, rented everything from a record company. We were like kept women. It was unbelievable. We were trying to prove to ourselves we were rock stars, me and my boys, my band, by spending their money. We had nothing. I owned nothing. Rent a car, rent a house, rent everything. They paid this, we spent millions of dollars doing, and at the end of the day, I had nothing. So here I am out of my deal thinking I'll get another one. Not so easy. Not so fast. And I can't talk. And a girl was chasing me, and I was running away from her, but she was lovely and beautiful and sweet. And I remember telling her over and over again, I am no good. You should not stay with me. I'm never going to marry you. I am never going to live with you. I am never going to be faithful to anyone. This is what I said to her.
Oh, I believe it. Yep.
And I thought I was a nice guy, but I was twisted up here with that kind of stuff. And I remember one day on my front lawn of on my mother's house, I had just gotten back from England, and she came to visit me. This was after the last record I made for that company. And I remember feeling guilty about what I did in England, and she shows up to greet me home. And I remember looking at her, feeling horrible about myself and saying, you should go away. I'm just no good. Go away. She turns around, she cries, starts walking to the car, and a little voice says, stop her. Do not let her walk away. I didn't let her walk away. And it was later on, again, she wound up getting an apartment. I wound up living it in Manhattan, and I'm living now in Manhattan. She's paying the bills. She lives in Connecticut. She's a hairdresser. And she got this apartment. I didn't know why at the time. I said, what are you doing that for? And she said, well, I want to go in the city on the weekends, but you could stay there. And I'm going, oh, okay. Now this is still at a point. This is still at a point where I was not going to be faithful. I was not going to marry her, but I had nowhere to go. So me, the jerk I was, I went and stayed in New York. Now I'm in New York by myself, and I don't know how to speak to people that don't work for me. I don't know how to speak to people that aren't fans. I only knew how to speak to people from the position of I'm a half a rock star, and that's how you know me. So suddenly I'm just in the city. I have no money. I have nobody in the city I know. I'm walking the streets of Manhattan every day. And this girl would come in on the weekends, and I just died for her to come back because I was alone.
Yeah.
And I'd talk to one of my neighbors, and I would stumble just having to have a regular conversation. And this, I know, is what happens to these folks that get in a position where they get so successful, they do nothing for themselves. The irresponsible ones, he'll light my cigarette, he'll do this, she'll do this. Yep. You wind up doing nothing, and it gets to the point where you don't know how to tie your own shoes, and you don't know how to function outside of being a celebrity, which is insane. Yep. It's insane. And it was beginning, and I was nothing and nobody, but it was beginning to happen to me. Mm-hmm. And I remember getting a call from the drummer from the band, from my records, my buddy, and he said, we're coming into Manhattan tonight for a meeting. I said, what kind of meeting? Oh, it's a Bible thing, a Bible meeting. And I'm going, Bible meeting? I said, yes, I'll go anywhere. I'll do anything. I just wanted to see people.
Yeah, talk to people, right?
I just wanted to hang out with my friends. I
Right.
was desperately lonely. And so I went to this meeting, and they're singing about raising the dead. And it wasn't like church, it was like a rock concert.
Right,
It was like,
right.
I'm going like, this is a long time ago. Everybody's got long hair. They look more like musicians than me. And I'm going like, whoa, this is interesting. So the thing ends, everybody's sitting around with their, standing around in this hotel lobby with their styrofoam cups of bad coffee. And the guy who was preaching, who has long hair, again, looks more like a rock singer than me. He's making a beeline for me. And I see him coming right at me, walks up, shakes my hand. He says, man, I love your records. Your records are really great. You're doing really good. And he knew all about me from one of the people, obviously, in my band that invited me to this thing. They were like closet Christians. They didn't tell me because they thought I would get mad if I found out they were like Bible thumpers. And that wasn't necessarily true. So he tells me how great I'm doing, and I'm going, well, honestly, I'm not doing very well at all. I mean, everything's gone. Yeah, everything's over. I mean, I'm done. I'm just cooked. I'm just talking now for the first time in how long? And I told him the little story and how every time I started to see success, or I thought the ball I hit was going over the fence, some odd thing would happen to knock it foul. If you know what I'm saying, like the fan knocking the ball foul.
Yep. Or reaching over, grabbing it. Yeah, right. Yep.
And that's how I felt about my career. Every time I was about to hit the high note, it would just like, something would go. And I told him that, and he looked at me and he said, why do you think that is? And I said to him, I think God's punishing me. Because I was raised to be a good kid. Sure. I was raised to be a good person. My family were like amazing folks. Not perfect, but amazing. And I had that side of me that really cared for people, but I had the other side of me that was just 1 foot in the garbage can, 1 foot in the Bible, kind of. Not at that point, really, but I was, what I was doing, I wasn't living right. So he says, God don't punish. And I go, what? What do you mean God don't punish? And he goes, God don't punish, but there is someone that does. And he got my attention. And 6 months later, after going through some Bible courses and stuff, I was teaching the Bible in my house in Manhattan.
Wow.
With my little baby on the bed and my wife. We got married. It wasn't 6 months later, it was a little bit, but we were able to get married. She got pregnant. We had a baby. We live in one room, and we had a studio apartment, that same studio apartment.
Wow.
And I would preach the Bible. I didn't know how to preach. I just preached. Right. I would invite people from the street. I'd invite, some people would come every week that we knew, and 8, 9 people in my little apartment. And, and God just continued. And we had this beautiful little family. I thought I was out of the business. I kept writing songs. I was writing Jesus songs and thought, well, the business is never going to look at me again. But I was happy being a dad, happy being a husband, just trying to figure out how am I going to make a living. And, and somebody gave me a window washing route. This gets a little convoluted, and gave me a window where you drive around and you go from store to store, and you make actually these guys make a lot of money. And I was making like $30, $40 an hour washing windows. But I was the worst window washer in the world. Like I was the worst paper boy in the world. And I'd walk up to a window and go, man, it looks clean. I'd go to the next one. Oh God, I was terrible. But at the same time, I'm a believer, and we're doing good. And I've got this sweet little baby, and the woman I was running away from, we got married, had a baby, and it was a sweet family, and it was a really cool little movie we were living in. And one day, and they went everywhere with me, and one day it's dead of winter, New Jersey. This snow piled on, when they plow the streets. 3 days later, you got this 3-foot high thing of dirty snow.
I'm a Jersey boy. Yep. Right. Hell yeah.
So I pull up in front of the pizza place. I got to go wash a window, and Rosie and my wife are in the car. She's breastfeeding the baby. Baby's like 2.5, 3 years old. And I get out of the car, climb over the ice, go in, wash the window. And I remember washing this pizza place window, and had a neon sign I had to lift off. And at that time, everybody smoked in restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
And as I hit that inside window, yellow started coming down. And I'm looking at my family through this nicotine going, what has happened to my life? What am I doing this for, right? I get paid. I go out to the car. I put my bucket in the car. I get in the car. My wife is hysterical, crying, and she found a lump in her breast. And I'm going like, why are you crying? This is nothing. This is nothing. This stuff doesn't happen. You get it? God takes care of my people. God loves us. He takes care of my people. Nothing ever went wrong in my family. I never saw the inside of a hospital. I have 2 brothers, 2 sisters on either side of me, and a healthy mom and dad. And I never saw the inside of a hospital as a kid. And here I am. My wife feels a lump in her breast, and she loses her. She's out like hysterical, holding the baby. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, honey, no. This is nothing. This is not. And 3 years later, she's gone. And I am a widow, 35 years old, I think. And she was 29, and I have a baby, and I have no clue who I am. I have no clue. I was completely broken off from everything that was familiar. The peer group I was moving in, suddenly didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know who he was anymore. Didn't blame him, never would, never could. It ain't true. He doesn't do that stuff. Didn't blame God. And that's the big thing I did not blame God. I was lost. I was broken. But he promises in the Bible to give you beauty for ashes. And in my heart of hearts, no, in my mind, I was in a place where I thought nothing good can ever happen again. I just lost my best friend, and I have a little baby that is never going to have a mama hold her again. And I'm dying inside. And I'm thinking nothing good can ever happen again. I went from being the ultimate optimist to being like, oh my God. But you know what? There was a single, like I see it like a laser light, like the slimmest, most powerful shot of light that pierced through all that continually and said, he won't leave me here. He won't leave me and my baby in this devastation, in this broken life, in this life that's completely been hollowed out. He won't leave us here. And that was a really small, a really still small voice, because the world was screaming, nothing good will ever happen again. You are done. And within 2.5 years of that, I get a call from someone. That tells me after a year and a half later, maybe I get a call from somebody who ran into someone who worked for Bon Jovi on, he was washing windows. My buddy used to be my guitar player, is back to washing windows. And he ran into a friend of his from high school that worked for Bon Jovi. And they get to talking. And the other guy who worked for Bon Jovi says to my buddy, my ex-guitar player, he says, hey, you still play guitar, right? Because he's washing windows. I go, yeah, I play with Billy Falcon, because I was people knew who I was. Right. And he goes, oh, wow, my boss loves that guy. And so I get this call telling me that John Bon Jovi loves me. Well, what happened was that guy went back to John's house. He was kind of John's gopher, right? But he lived in John's house. He'd bring packages to FedEx and that kind of stuff. He'd paint John's fence. And he went back to John's house and said, hey, I ran into my buddy who used to plays guitar for that guy you like, Billy Falcon. John went into the closet and took out those 3 records I had made and started listening to them. And here I am. I'm devastated, just devastated, trying to raise my kid. The only light in my life was that kid. The only reason I didn't go completely off the rails was the baby. She was the joy of my life. And so I get this call, and it says, John Bon Jovi is your biggest fan. He wants to know what you're doing. If you have any music, he wants to hear it. Now, after my wife died, God did something amazing in me. He took the gift he had given me initially, the ability to communicate songs, words and music, and write songs. I believe that's a complete gift, because I have no training at all. Right. I don't even know what I do, to be honest. If someone asks me what chords I'm playing, I really can't tell them for the most part. So I get that call. Tell John's my biggest fan. He wants me to bring any music I had. What God had done when I lost my wife is when I sat down, all I did was continue to write songs. And all I did was continue to write songs and wait for my baby to come home from school or take care of her. Because when I was taking care of her, I was okay. And when I was writing songs, I was okay. In between that, life was a really bad movie. I was in a movie I never wanted to be in. It was just a sad, broken place. And the good thing, I just continued to love that kid, and I continued to write songs, and I didn't go completely to hell with myself. That's what I tell folks when their life has been attacked like that. I said, you just got to do your best, and sometimes your best doesn't seem very good at all. Like my best didn't seem very good at all, but it was enough. It was enough because I did my best. I kept writing songs, but the songs I started writing were richer and more powerful than anything I'd ever written before. It was like he took the paint that I was painting with and made it richer and deeper. And so when I get that phone call that John Bon Jovi wants to know what happened to me and did I have any music he could hear, and if I did, I should bring it to the Brendan Byrne Arena the next night, which is in Jersey.
Yeah, I played soccer there. Yep.
Okay, and there was a Whitesnake concert, and he
I went to that. That was my first concert ever. Was Whitesnake
Really?
and John Waite? Was it with John Waite?
John Waite, absolutely.
I was there.
John Waite.
That's the first concert I ever went to.
I was there. That's hilarious.
Oh
so I'm
my gosh.
I go to there, and I'm not really a fan. I love John Waite, though, by the way. Yeah, I wasn't really a Coverdale fan, although he was a good singer. I was never like a hair band fan. Right. So I'm in the front row of the show, and I enjoy. It was John Waite's other band. He had that song "Every Time You Smile," right?
Yep. Every time.
That's so weird. You were at the same thing that night. It was the night that God saved my life, actually.
Wow.
And John is supposed to be there. If John wasn't going to be there, he was going to send this guy who worked for him to get what I brought, which this cassette tape of these songs I wrote that I truly believe no one was ever going to hear. And that was the idea. I was writing these songs, and they were these powerful songs, but I thought no one, because nothing good could ever happen again, I thought no one was ever, I'm making a record no one could ever hear. And I'm making this terrible little record on a cassette. It sounds like hell. It's me and my guitar. I wasn't an engineer, but just a 2-track little thing, distorted, whatever it was. My guitar playing was, I give this guy the tape. John's not there. I give the guy the tape saying, yeah, this is just another one of those teases. Just, I'm getting beat up. The devil beat me up a little more. This is just something to get me all excited about nothing. And lo and behold, that's the end of that. I go home and I hear nothing. I hear nothing from that again for a year and a half. I hear not another word from Bon Jovi or anybody. So it was just like, yeah, I guess that's just more of the same. More pain for you, Billy.
Right. Get your hopes up high and
crash. Just like everything else I'd ever imagined in the music business. So it was a year and a half later. I'm down in Nashville. I came to Nashville to try to figure out how to live. My buddies were down here. They put me up. My buddy and his wife put me up for a whole summer. I left my baby up in New York with my mom and dad. They were so kind to watch her. And I came down here. I was missing my daughter like you can't imagine. But I came here, fell in love with the town, fell in with a fraternity of songwriters. I'd never been a part of anything in the music business because a lot of the stuff, the fraternity and the music business, back then at least, was cocaine, alcohol, and weed, drugs. And I just didn't do any drugs. I wanted nothing to do with drugs. I don't know why. I just liked my sense. I liked having my wits about me.
Having control.
Yeah. And I could chase girls much better sober than I could laid out somewhere.
Exactly.
And that was my vice. My vice was just chasing. I loved women. I chased women. And it was, I didn't think it was hurtful. It was hurtful to everybody, including me. So I heard nothing. And it's now a year and a half later. I'm down in Nashville. And I get another phone call. And I'm down here in Nashville trying to sell my soul for $300 a month, a week, a month. In other words, as a songwriter, they'll pay you $300 a week back then. And I had all these songs, and they're telling me, and again, I'm taking meetings around Hickory Fireplace, in the backyard of the publisher on Music Row. That's the cool thing about Music Row. They're just houses, and they're ruining that, but they're just houses. And guy hears one of my songs, says, yeah, we gonna have a meeting here. We come. He didn't talk like that. My Southern accent ain't very good. And I show up, and he's there behind the house, and he's got a hickory pit, a little smoker, and he's cooking. He starts explaining to me about the wood and how it flavors the meat. And I'm going, where in God's name am I? And then he tells me, those songs are right, and we're going to be cutting them songs like that in about 10 years. And I'm going, dude, I'm dying. I ain't got 10 years. I ain't got 15 minutes. I need a job today. if I'm going to bring my kid here and live, because I needed to get out of New York because it was just too hard raising her. So anyway, I'm there for an entire summer, getting all these music business promises from every publisher I sit with, telling me if I'll move down to Nashville and just dance with them for 6 months, I'll have a deal. I don't have 6 months. I don't want to dance with them. Whatever. So I have 1 day left of my stay in Nashville. I have to get back home because Rosie's got to go back to school. So I have one more meeting, and no, I come in the house, and this was crazy. This fraternity I fell in with here in Nashville, old singer-songwriters, we'd stay up all night in a closed bar, and we'd sit outside, and we'd all compare notes of the day. We'd sing our new songs for one another. Anyway, so I was preparing. I was in the house I was staying, and it's 10 o'clock at night. I'm preparing. I have a week left to my stay in Nashville. I'm preparing to go downtown and to be with these folks. I am so alive. I'm missing my daughter, but it's the first time I feel like I'm breathing in about 6 years. The whole my wife thing and all that, and I feel like, wow, I could live here. I can raise my baby here. I can live here, but I had no way of living there without a job.
Right.
And I'm getting ready to go out. It's like 9, 10 o'clock at night. My phone rings. It's another guy that used to be in my band who was at the Stone Pony one night, and Bruce was going to be there, and supposedly Bon Jovi was going to be there. As you know, they show up at those places, and my buddy's at the bar, and John Bon Jovi walks up to him and he goes, "Hey, didn't you used to play with Billy Falcon?" And the guy goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Did you ever hear a song?" And he sings them the chorus to this song called Power Windows that was on my little tape. John sings to him. He sings them a little, it's, "You got no power windows, got no power," whatever. He sings them that at the bar. And he says, "If you can get in touch with Billy, if you have his number, please give him my number, ask him to call me." This is a year and a half after the Whitesnake thing. And again, little coincidences, weird little meetings. This is God doing something, right?
Yep.
These are the miracles that saved my life. This is how God worked. And so I get off the phone with this guy. I call the number. John answers the phone. It sounds like me on the other end of the phone. Everything about his timing speaking, his voice speaking. And it was kind of uncanny. And he just simply said, "I am your biggest fan. These songs I just heard are amazing. Send me whatever you have. I want to hear more." I wake up the next morning. He says he was going to the movies. He had to go, but send me more music. I sent him 8 more songs the next day. And I'm still thinking, this is going to go away. This is just another tease. This is just another tease, because nothing good can ever happen again.
Right.
And it's a week later now. I have one more day. I have one more meeting. And then Saturday, I'm driving home to put my baby in school. I have my car. I'm driving back to Nashville. And I have one publisher meeting, and they say, "If you'll come in tomorrow for another meeting, our owners are going to be here, our investors, and I want them to meet you. Maybe you'll get a deal here." I said, "Okay." And so I leave. I go home. It's 103 degrees in Nashville. My steering wheel is melting. I walk in the house I'm staying in, and on the carpet on the living room floor is the 16-year-old son of my friend and his girlfriend is sitting, and between them on the floor is the Codaphone, which is an answering machine for all you whippersnappers there that don't know what that is.
Right.
And
the banana phone.
He looks up at me as I walk in the living room, and he goes, "Billy, you got 5 messages from John Bon Jovi." And he hits the button, and it's John, and he sounds frantic. Like, "Billy, is Billy Falcon there? If Billy Falcon's there, can you have him call me?" And I don't know if you know John's manager, Doc McGee. He left a couple of messages too. I call John, and John says, "What are you doing?" And he used some language I won't use now, but he says, "What the are you doing in Nashville?" I just simply said, "Dude, nobody up in New York cares about a guy with an acoustic guitar and some songs, and here they care. Here they're hearing, here they really," I said, "Songwriting here is reverenced. It's almost like you sit in a bar and someone's singing a song they wrote. It's like you're in church." And that is an amazing thing for a songwriter. And at the time, everywhere else I'd ever been is you sing a song and people are just chatting and eating French fries, and it's not like they're really listening. And unless you were a big rock star. But anyway, so he says, "Come home. I'll send you a plane ticket. I want, let's meet. Let's." So I I'm not believing any of this. I said, no, I'm coming home. I'm driving home Saturday. I got to put my baby in school. So he said, okay, call me when you get back and we'll have dinner. I got back, I called him, he invited me to have dinner, and I went out to his house, and there I am sitting at the table with John Bon Jovi, the rock star, not the guy you see now who kind of looks like a statesman, but the guy with the long hair and the shirt open to his navel with the chains, the hairy chest, and a bunch of earrings, and it's like kind of surreal. And he's there, and his lovely wife, who's just a doll, and his manager,
high school sweetheart.
Yeah. Yes. And his manager, Doc McGee, who is the best storyteller in the world. No one more fun to have dinner with. His stories are just, they'll crack you up. I mean, just a funny guy. And we're having dinner, and John, I guess it was shrimp scampi. I remember everything about it, because this is the night my life began to get saved. And we eat dinner, and I'm like, this is, again, surreal. Nothing like this normally happens like this. Like I said, it's usually just a tease to a big puff of smoke, nothing.
Especially not the Billy Falcon.
No, it don't happen to me.
Right.
So so we finish dinner. He says, let's go inside. We go inside and walk into a room, probably twice the size of this. There's a big room, a living room. But again, John's house, the house he lives in, his houses now are very different than this. This was like his early money house. So the whole place was covered with platinum records, hundreds of platinum records. And I'm sitting in there, really high ceiling, and I'm going like, what the heck? And we're sitting in this little sectional, me, John, and his manager. And John hands me a guitar and says, here, play us something. So I played him something, and I played him something, and I played him like 4 or 5 songs. And at that point, he looks at me and he goes, stop, I hate you, which was funny. Stop, I hate you. And they hand me a record contract. This was the really crazy thing. When in the music, normally it would be like, oh yeah, we'll call you. And 6 months later.
Right, yep.
I could tell you that the horrible moments, the hours and hours and days and months of me waiting on people to call. In the end of when I lost my wife, there was years went by where promises and nothing, and promises and nothing. And they hand me a record contract. I'm beyond, I don't know what's in the record contract, but it's a record contract. I'm going to make another record. I thought I'd never, ever make a record again. And instead of going straight home to Long Island, where I was living at the time, I went into Manhattan, and I walked the streets. I used to walk with my wife and baby, reading this contract that I couldn't make heads or tail of, with tears streaming down my face, praising God. And it wasn't John, it was that John was available and open to God working with him, because God put favor on me to him. He loves what I do. He still loves what I do. Although we completely disagree politically, he remains a good brother and a good friend. Obviously, I mean, he stumped for the Clintons, and even the whispering president he stumped for. Anyway, so 6 months later, I was in the recording studio making a record with John, one of the best producers in the business at the time, a guy named Danny Korchmore, and an all-star band full of guys from Petty's band and John Mellencamp's band and Jackson Browne and all these characters, and me, I was the only nobody in the room.
Wow.
And that record was a hit. We had a hit on it. And again, something really crazy happened, because to be honest with you, I was not living at that point. It was like, I'm back. I'm not dying. I'm not buried anymore. I felt like I was being buried alive for years. It was worse, obviously, for my wife. The only reason I didn't go off the rails, like I said earlier, was my daughter. But I was going, as soon as this thing happened, I took the new suit of clothes God gave me, and I ran as fast as I could to the deepest and dirtiest mud puddle I could find and just rolled in it. And the idea of it was easier to chase girls than others, what I'm saying. Suddenly I have notoriety. I have a hit song on the radio, and I'm going around the country touring with my band, opening for Don Henley and Stevie Nicks and Richie Sambora, and opening for Bon Jovi. And we're rock stars. And again, didn't have any money necessarily, but we're rock stars, and we were behaving badly. And at that point, I was a Christian, knew the word, if I met somebody that was hurting, I'd speak the word to them. But if I met a pretty girl, I'd speak a different word to her, and that was just not any good. I had one foot in the trash can, I like to say, and one foot in the Bible. But if you have one foot in the trash can, you have both feet in the trash can. There is no other side.
Right.
And that's how I lived for a while. And I think that's why that thing right at the peak of the hit single on that particular record that I made with John, some crazy thing happened. The president of a record company got sued for sexual harassment, which was apropos.
Wow.
And everything froze at the label. All the money freezes, everything stops. And my single that was on the radio firing up the charts just died on the vine because all the money stopped. And if the money stops, radio stops playing a song. So that was the end of that. And I kept going, but I was very disappointed because that was my big miracle. But the miracle was that the whole thing has been a miracle. I've been writing songs with John now for the last 25 years.
Wow.
And it goes on. But you know what? 6 years ago is when 6 years ago, something happened to me. Someone sent me a little videotape about healing, and it was a guy named Dan Mohler. If you're not familiar with him, you should look him up. He's a preacher, Mohler. He's just an itinerant preacher. He goes around, not big fancy churches. He just goes around to little churches, and he works out of a church in Pennsylvania somewhere that they I guess fund him to just go, and he goes, and he's just a brilliant man and loves God, loves the Lord. And so a buddy of mine, because I'm still in the Word and I still communicate with other Christians, my friends, and this guy up in New York, Marty, who's the guy who does my website now, is just a sweet, sweet dude. My brother Marty, he sent me a teaching tape by this Dan Mohler, and it was on healing. And as I'm watching this videotape on YouTube, I hear the little voice again. The little voice goes, "This is real. This is true." He's teaching on healing, how Jesus Christ, by his stripes, we are healed. And that God is absolutely in the business of healing folks. And that Jesus paid for what we suffer. And as I'm watching this, I'm going, if this is true, I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing this. And that something in that video just turned a screw on me. And like everything changed, like kind of turned on a dime. And within weeks of seeing that initial video, I saw a bunch of others because, YouTube sends like stuff. And I kept listening to these guys. And they talk about healing. And it dawned on me, and again, this still small voice, I'm a supernatural God. I still part the Red Sea. I'm still doing what I did. Religion has covered it, okay, and buried it. But I am still the supernatural God. And I still heal. And I still work miracles. And I started running with it. I started praying for people in the street, in the grocery store. Someone would limp by me at Starbucks. I'd run after them and go, "Hey, can I pray for your leg?" And they'd go, "Yeah." And they'd keep on walking. I'd say, No, right now, here.
Right.
Now, people didn't get and but amazing things started to happen as I did that. And everybody thought I was crazy. And my friends thought I was nuts. And I remember thinking I was the only one in Nashville. I wasn't, but I thought I was the only one in Nashville that believed this stuff, that everybody else was just going to church on Sunday and then going back to their life. And I wasn't doing any of that. I was walking like Jesus. I was trying to walk like Jesus. I'm not saying I achieved it like we're supposed to, right? I was laying hands on folks everywhere. Some people limped away. Some people said it felt really better. And then I prayed for a man and his deaf ear opened. And I thought, oh my, that ain't me. And I just continued to do that. And but I'm thinking I'm the only one in Nashville, and I know I'm talking a lot, but I'll just finish right here. I'm the only one in Nashville, and what happened was I'm at Starbucks, and I see a kid, and I'm talking to everybody about Jesus. I'm talking about healing, and I see this kid sitting there, and the kid in his 30s, to me, a kid. This is only 6 years ago, and he's sitting there reading a little book, could be a Bible, could be the Quran, I have no idea. And I say, "Hey, what are you reading?" He said, "The Bible." I said, "Cool." I said, God's still doing everything he did in that book. He's still doing it. And he goes, yeah, I know. I said, "He's healing. He still heals." And he goes, "Yeah, I know." And I'm going, "You do?" And he says, "You got to meet these people." I said, "What people?" He says, "They have church in their house right up the block. Hundreds of people are being healed." And I said, I can go. I'm thinking like I'm the only one. I can go. I'm ready to get on a plane and fly to where my friend Dan Moeller is, who I don't know.
Right.
Or one of those guys. I just want to be around it. I want to see it, right? Because I don't know what I'm doing. And I go to this meeting they have, and it's in a house. It happened to be in a different house, which is about 20 minutes from here. And I walk in, and I felt like I was in the movie The Shack. There's all these girls, pretty girls in there, cutting bread, and the sun is slanting through the window, and the kitchen's all white, and they're cutting bread and fruit. And I'm going, where the hell am I? And should I be here? I'm kind of shy about people I don't know, and it takes me a minute to get to feel the water kind of, and they, oh, hi, how are you? I walk in, I'm a stranger. And I felt like these people know me. They didn't know me. They were just being sweet. The preacher and his wife come in. They don't live there. She sees me. She goes, oh, I know you from Starbucks. I always wanted to talk to you. And I'm going, okay, I'm here. Anyway, they do their thing, a couple hours. I'm sitting there. It's glory. The singing is unbelievable. The guy's an ex-football player, big man. He's playing the guitar and singing. She's singing. The whole place is this cacophony of angels. I'm just like, where am I? This is amazing. They do this all day. I could only sit for 2 hours. I grab the preacher and I go, hey, dude, when do you do that? I mean, I want to know what you're doing. Can we meet? We meet at Starbucks a week later. We're sitting, they pray for my back. I get healed because I had taken a fall. I would have made a movie and did a jump and hurt my back really bad. And it wasn't a jump. I tripped. It made it sound really romantic.
It wasn't a jump. It ripped over the wire.
And it wasn't as part of the movie. I was running.
It's so romantic. Like, I did this jump. Like,
I did not. I did a flying. My foot caught on the saddle of a door, and I did the craziest flying leap. I should have been killed, but I really jacked my leg and my back up pretty good. I thought, man, there goes your golfing career. Anyway, I got healed. But I'm sitting with them at Starbucks, and I said, when's your next meeting? And they go, well, it's Friday night. It's our big meeting. I said, where is it? They said, we don't have a place yet, because it's so wild, these meetings. They got thrown out of their apartment. They can't do it there because they're going to get thrown out of their apartment, and they don't have a place. So I said, do it at my house. Sight unseen, they show up Friday night, and so do 60 people. And in this room here, it's not that big, and the kitchen it's open, so it's 60 people, and the music and the singing. And I'm there, and I'm thinking, this is insane. I'm insane. And these people are wild. They're yelling Jesus. There's people laying on the floor. I'm sitting in a chair over there. This is week one, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, am I out of my mind? These people seem a little too crazy, but it was beautiful.
Right.
So, okay, that's the first week. Second week, same thing. I'm looking at these kids, their hands are in the air and they're all singing, praising the Lord. And there's a girl laying on the hardwood floor right next to my rickety chair. This chair right here. I have these crappy chairs that I never got rid of. I'm sitting on one of them over there, and they're singing. And I'm trying to lip read because I don't know these church songs they're singing.
Right.
And I love the music and I love singing. I'm trying. Girl laying on the floor next to me. And she's a pretty girl, but she looks like she's floating on a cloud. She's laying on hardwood. And I'm going, if I was laying on hardwood, I'd be like rubbing my back. I'd be going, nah, what am I? She looked like she was in heaven. And I'm going, what does she know that I don't know? And then I start to get a little freaked out about the whole thing, thinking, yes, you've lost your mind. Like everybody, all my friends think I lost my mind. And I go to get up out of my chair, Chris, and I'm stuck to my chair. I can't move forward. I can't get up. And I go, okay, I feel everything. I'm okay. I start laughing now because I can't move. I can't lean forward in my chair. And I just felt like this hand on my chest, like a hand on my chest, just saying, not just yet. Don't go just yet. Like I'm doing something. And I don't know what happened there. But about 8 minutes later, I was able to lean forward. I stood up and I was drunk. I felt so drunk. My arms felt like they weighed 100 pounds apiece. I stumbled over to the dude singing right here. He was standing right here singing. And in between songs, I said, dude, I just got stuck to a chair. And he goes, I said, what's that about? And like I asked him what time it was, he goes, that's the weighty presence of God. It gets better. And he smiles. And I go like, what? And I stumble away because I feel drunk.
Right.
End of story. Next morning, I'm out here doing what I tried to do every morning. I'm trying to pray, trying to read the Bible. And every time I sit down to read it, it's like I read a chapter, And I go, what'd you just read? Because all the while you were reading, you were thinking about your computer, your script, your song, your book, your email,
moment, right?
whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
All this stuff pulling at me. And I'd do that for 4 or 5 minutes. I'd read the thing 3 times, not understand the word, not actually feel what I'm reading.
Right.
And then I'd pray, bless my baby, bless this, bless that, Father, take care of this, take care of that. I'm trying, but, and that's it. I can't even sit. I gotta go, gotta get to my work. I gotta get to my guitar. I gotta get to my computer. Gotta get to that mix. Gotta get to that movie. The next morning when I went out and sat here, I was out here 4 hours later with tears on my face. The Bible just opened up for me. I was in this crazy bliss. Might sound nuts to some. I felt this bliss on my body, and I'm going, what is this? There's been nothing in my life that around Jesus or the Father that felt pleasurable. Like he says in the word, it says, taste and see that the Lord is good. What is he talking about? Because religion ain't nothing good there. It's sitting in a chair. Right. It's sitting in a chair waiting to go eat chicken. Like, I can't wait for this guy to stop talking. I'm out there and I am like getting hammered with this bliss. And if you walked out on the porch, you wouldn't see me like a sniveling. I'd go, hey, how are you? Because I was in total control of my faculties, total control. So I was not possessed. I did this for 3 weeks. And my friends, I would meet them every morning at Starbucks and we'd talk about anything and everything. And most of them are Christians. But I stopped showing up because I was there too long. I started waking up earlier so I could do that and get where I needed to go. And then after 3 weeks, I felt, you know what? This must be evil. This feels like good. I crave this presence of God. I crave it. I need it. I can't live without it. This must be evil. I feel it in my skin. I feel this crazy rush in my body, this rising in my body. And I'm going, almost like too much to deal with. Like, oh my God, what is this?
Like a hunger. And it says to hunger, have a hunger for God.
The closest thing, to be honest, the closest thing I could compare it to is being physical with somebody. It calls it ecstasy. The Bible calls it ecstasis. In the Bible, it's there. God is supernatural. He owns every beautiful sensation is his. The enemy has taken every beautiful sensation and turned it into something ugly, like he's done with sex, like he's done with everything. When you think about it, everything has been twisted. The arts, music is beautiful. Look what he's done. Movies, video is beautiful. Look what he's done. The devil, look what he's done with all of it. And he didn't stop short at churches. I think he started in churches. He started in religion. That's the best place to start for him. Anyway, I'm thinking this must be evil. And then I feel this sinking in my heart because this is the first thing I found that I don't want to leave church. I want to stay in this church of my body. I want to stay here. I want to stay in fellowship with him, in his presence. But then I feel this is evil. You're doing something wrong. You've tapped into something ugly and it's dressed in beautiful clothes. And in a fraction, as I have that thought, I see like a bubble rise up in my head, like it's in a cartoon, like a caption, and it says, be still and know that I am God. And I did not know that verse of scripture. It's Psalm 46, 10 or 12, I think. And I realized at that moment, it's the first time in my life I'd ever been still. When I say still, just sitting, right. Not with a guitar, not with a phone, not with an iPad, not editing, not with a chicken leg or a piece of pizza, sitting.
You're quiet.
Sitting. So
quiet. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's when you find him, when you're quiet, when you're still.
And that's when he heals you. That's when he healed my whole life. He healed everything about me. The thought of, and a confession, up to that point, I was looking at pornography. I drank very little. It's not like having a drink is such a bad thing. I never had a taste for alcohol, but I did develop like an egotistical, I drink scotch, good single malt scotch. I drink good bourbon and good scotch. And I'd get birthday gifts of hundreds of dollars worth of fine scotch. One guy gave me a $7,000 bottle of scotch that got stolen from my house. Anyway, besides the point, I had this little bit of identity in things. And I'm telling you, when that happened to me, it all went away. The thought of looking at something creepy on the internet sickens me. I tasted bourbon like a couple of weeks later, just a sip of something I would normally have a sip of. It tasted like iodine.
Mm,
And I'm going, and there's nothing wrong. Don't get me wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with someone
right.
taking a drink of
Right.
wine, or it's, my identity was in that. I'm thinking I'm Frank Sinatra. I'm drinking
Right.
Frank
Right.
drink, and I'm driving a Cadillac, and I had this ego thing going on. My identity was not him. It was in this stuff. And God didn't want that, I think. This is me speculating why it tasted like iodine, but I can tell you, addictions are really hard to break. And when he moves, it ain't hard. It's, you don't have to white knuckle anything. And in the presence of God, he removes what you need removed. He will, but you have to spend the time. And sometimes you just have to sit there and go, I don't feel anything. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Wait.
Yep. Billy,
Yes.
you're going to meet a woman at
I'm sorry?
You're going to meet a woman at this event that I'm going to introduce you to. When you talk about addiction, she had addiction to Xanax, Adderall, and obviously smoking,
Wow.
recovering alcoholic. And she gave all it up, Xanax, Adderall, smoking, like that.
Like that.
In 3 months, over 15, 20 years of it. And because she gave her life back to Christ, like you said, and every day her life has gotten stronger, and she prays, and I mean, it's absolutely to see it, and you'll meet it, and you'll see Christ through her eyes, and you'll see what
It's
I mean.
beautiful.
But you're so right, Billy, and I could relate with you in so many ways. And the biggest way is what you're talking about happened to me in my church, but it took me 17 years or 13 years where I was a Christian, where I believe I had 1 foot in the gutter and 1 foot in the Bible.
Sure.
I wasn't in the Word. I was trying to be a good Christian, but my biggest hang up with me was resentment and loving the people, my haters, right? Loving the people that were jealous of me, loving the people that would turn against me, right? And so, because I would always want to have the vendetta, the Italian in me, right? To go right back after me. You hurt me, I'm going to hurt you even harder.
Yeah.
And, growing up, I was a model, Chippendale dancer in New York. There's another thing I mean, I didn't live in New York because I didn't want to, because I was in New York Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for the shows. And then we went on tour and everything. But when you talk about, I was on all the talk shows. So when you talk about that rock star mentality, people, I remember going to Studio 54, the Limelight, the
That's so
Underground,
funny.
right?
Yeah.
Walking in, watching Sharon Andy Warhol snort coke at Studio 50. I mean, the things that you and I were around and what
That's funny. Yeah, because I went to all those places, especially Studio 54. I thought that was
right.
I didn't fit in at all, but man.
Me too. Right? And when you sit there and you're around, these people like you're talking about, it's so easy to get caught up in that. Right. My discussion that I'm going to have at this event is called Be an Influencer, Not Influenced.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to get caught up, like we're getting caught up in the world. And it says in the Bible to be in the world, but not of the world. And people don't know what that fine line is, because it's a very fine line. You talked about pornography. I lost a very, very, very dear friend because of pornography.
Oh, wow.
He was married. It wasn't like he was single. He was married. He would tell sexual jokes, him and his wife, around me. And I would warn him, absolutely not. Do not do it.
Right.
Do not do it. There's 2 things that I have boundaries with my friends, Billy. Don't say my God's name in vain around me. And don't talk about sex around me. Like, no sexual jokes, right? Yeah. Other than that, I don't care what you talk about with me. Those 2 things. Yeah. And I thought I was being a witness, an ambassador to him, and literally being a conduit and bringing him, to Christ through me. And we had a conversation, I'll never forget, at my table. And I said, I now know what is keeping you away from eternal salvation. And he said, what? And I said, pornography. And he said, but Chris, I only do it a little bit. And I said, you do it a little bit too much.
Yeah.
He said, what do you mean? I said, well, if I made brownies, you'll love this. If I made brownies, and I told you there is a special ingredient that I have in these brownies, but I'm not going to tell you until I make them and you eat it. And I make them and you eat them, you're like, wow, this is so good, Chris. What is this special ingredient of your grandmother's? And I say, see that dog over there? You see when it poops? I just take a little bit, just a little bit, and I mix it in with the brownie batter. How's that going to make you feel? And he started laughing at me. And he goes, that's ridiculous. I'm like, how ridiculous is it? I mean, I only used a little bit. He goes, I would throw up. I would be sick to my stomach. I go, you would, huh? Only a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and I think to what you said, and I believe there's people that are going to see this and look at you and I and go, wow, I can relate to that. Yeah. You know, I was a misfit like that, right? I was an outcast like that. You know, I felt like they felt. You know, when you talked about Bon Jovi, I'm going to share this with you, and nobody knows this, Billy, but it was on my heart when you were talking. God said, tell people. John Bon Jovi is so near and dear to my heart, not because I'm from Jersey and Jersey Shore and all that. When I met him, yes. His music, yes. But I committed suicide. I tried to take my life.
Oh, wow.
And when I slit my wrist and was in a coma for 3 weeks, I think I was 17, going on 18. The song Never Say Goodbye was on.
Oh, God.
And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that song and what it meant to me at that time. I know it's about, you know, lovers, right, being young and, you know, breaking up, never say, but that's not what I was saying. When I was saying never say goodbye at that time that I wanted to kill myself, it was like I had so much pain. You know, the abuse of my father, the broken promises, you know, lining up on the asphalt at 6 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, modeling. Nope, sorry, your hair is too light. Nope, your eyes are blue. Nope, you're too tall. Nope, you're too short. You know what I mean? Like that judging like you every single day, month after month after month, because then I put my work into what they thought of me. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're too tan. Oh, you're not tan enough. Oh, you're not too tall. And I never had God.
Yeah.
And then when I did have God in my life, and that's what I share with young people now, is don't worry. Don't worry what a girl thinks of you. Don't worry what a boy thinks of you. All you got to worry about is what Jesus Christ thinks of you.
Yeah.
And the minute that you know that Jesus Christ loves you, no matter what you did, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, you can throw him away, you can toss him away, and he'll always be there. He'll never throw a punch, he'll never call you a name, he'll never put you down. He'll never break a promise. He'll always be there for you. Maybe not in your time, but he will always be there for you, and will never, ever forsake you or leave you. That is what worthiness is.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful, the message that you had today. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I did not expect that. Your testimonial, I am sure, is going to bring somebody, if not a lot of people, to Christ, that alone. And I'd like to have you on. You know, it was in my heart saying, man, you know, I'm going to have him on every week, because I think, you know, where my podcast is going, I'm transitioning to health and wellness and getting out of the political field for one way or another. And I really want to talk about being healthy, but having Jesus Christ in your life, and the difference of, like you said, having Jesus Christ in your life, but acting like Jesus. There's so many people that say, I'm a Christian, but they don't act like a Christian.
Well, they haven't been, again, if you grew up in religion, and most people do, from the time you're a little baby, it starts. And it ain't anything that you would want, because they don't tell you about what he accomplished on the cross. They don't. What you get is a list of do's and don'ts, and no one likes that. No one like, don't do this, don't do that, no, it ain't about that. And when you say we can't do anything to change his love for us, he is love. That's what he gives. God is love. His son is love. And just simply, you think of the prodigal son. Everybody knows the story of the prodigal son, right? What did he do? The kid went to his father, said, Dad, I want all my money. I want to go party. And his dad didn't want him to. It broke his dad's heart, but he gave him his money. He didn't call him names. He didn't say, get out, go, you're dead to me. The kid leaves. He goes, he burns all his money. He burns everything on whores and whatever else he was. Not right this second. And what is his father doing while this is happening? He's pining for his son. He's praying, come home, okay? And then his father sees him coming in the distance, and he doesn't go, there he is, that rat bastard. No, he doesn't do that. He goes, this is my boy. This is my boy. And all God says is, when we get on the outside, this is what I truly believe, I'd stake my life on this, that he's just going, come back. Come back. When we mess up, he's saying, come back. I love you. I love you. He knows what we're up against. He knows what the enemy did. Look what the enemy did to his son. Okay. The idea, God is love. He is light. He is spirit. And that's what he gives. So if you're a believer in Jesus, if you're a believer, if you believe that God raised him from the dead and you've confessed him as Lord, you say, he's Lord, I'm not. Okay. You're a new creation, and that's what you don't learn about. You need to learn there's something really different about you now. Now have supernatural ability, because there's something supernatural inside you. How can you walk by the Spirit if you know nothing about it? Right. And the best thing I tell, the recipe for me, you want that peace that Philippians talks about, the peace that passes understanding. It's something we need more than ever right now. We need it, because if you're looking at what's going on in the world, you have no peace. If your peace is coming from the latest podcast that might tell you something positive, then listen to the next one where they tell you the world is ending tomorrow. No, our peace comes from heaven. It comes this way. Nothing can touch our peace. Nothing gets to separate us from the love of Christ, the love of God. Nothing. So just get in that place. Jesus said, when you pray, go to the secret place, shut the door. Get alone with him. If you could do it for 5 minutes, okay. If you could do it for 10, better. If you could do it for half an hour, he will change your life in a matter of, I don't know how long. He will change your life. He'll change your family. You're worried about your kid that's out in the street doing something. You can't do nothing about it. You could lay a bunch of law on him, but you know what? It'll give him more reason to break it. He'll rebel more.
Yep. Amen, brother.
All you need to do is spend time with the creator of it all. Spend time with his son, the savior of it all, okay? And he healed my entire life in the quiet. It makes no sense. It's illogical, because you figure, I need that over there. I should walk over and get it. No, sit right here. Sit right here. Pray. Focus on him. Acknowledge him. Let him pour himself into you. He's already there, but let it manifest. And you'll see the kid that's on the outside will come back. That problem will go. Again, we're going to have problems. We're going to get hit. That's why we have the shield of faith. We're going to get hit. You might get rocked, but you know what? If God be for you, who can be against you? They're all just pests. They're all just pests. Anyway, amen. I'll shut up now.
Well, listen, we have 5 minutes, but real quick, you should buy a ticket just to hear this man. Just to hear this man speak and play the guitar and his music. And just to meet him. We're doing a meet and greet after the event. You're going to get to meet him. You're going to get to take pictures. You're going to get to sign autographs. So, Billy, if you could just, I think we have 5 minutes. So in 5 minutes, if you want to strum the guitar.
Let me sing you a song. I'll sing you a song. Yeah, that'd be great. And again, I'd love to pray for people. So if you come to the thing and you need prayer, I'd love to pray for you and see you get healed is what I want to see. And that's what I do when I play. I just go and I pray for folks. Anyway, so here it is. This is called Warrior. This is the one Nino did the little, the middle section, which you'll hear. But this is the world. And I write this stuff listening kind of to the chat, looking at the chat, and God pours in my head. He goes, sing this, sing that. And he gives me these words. And here we go. And like Chris, you were saying, there's nobody in this movement. There is not one of us, I think, that hasn't been broken somewhere. And we're living in different stages of our resurrection and our beauty for ashes. And I think that's what God does. So this is what it's about. What am I doing? All his children, the blessed billions, the ones the Son set free, the sanctified apple of his eye didn't fall far from the tree. Forgotten ones he rescued from the land of broken toys. Holy soldiers, shoulder to shoulder, shouting with one voice, shouting with one voice. Warrior, warrior, rise up, rise up. Our time is now. Warrior, warrior, rise up, rise up. Call fire down. God loves the warriors. Eagle battered, torn and tattered, caught in the hurricane. Floodwaters rising, freedom's crying, and they're calling for rain. The devil spits, it's time to quit. No hero's gonna come. We ain't going nowhere, no way. Love's already won. Love's already won. Warrior, warrior, rise up, rise up. Can't turn back now. Warrior, warrior, rise up, rise up. Call fire down. Know this story ends in glory. God loves the warriors. Here we go. Rise up, higher and higher. Like King Charlie Prince said, the roof is on fire. Revolution number 10, 11, and 12. It's where we go one, not every man for himself. 2021, 1776. Ain't nothing easy about it. These people are sick. This fight ain't fought with our flesh and blood. We're building the boat. God's bringing the flood. Eyes to heaven, we're seeking his face. This battle will be won in the secret place. Jesus in our heart and God on our side. We'll be the one standing at the end of the fight. At the end of the fight, at the end of the fight, darkness to light, at the end of the fight. Do not be discouraged when you see the darkness closing in. Those who are with us are
RECKONINGFEST.com. Buy your tickets now. Billy Falcon, I love you, brother.
God bless you. Thank you.
I can't wait to spend time with you. God bless you. God bless everybody that sees this. Billy, I don't mean to cut you off, but we're going to get